Hello, this is Infinity, currently here to talk to you about mantra meditation. So, mantra meditation is something that I personally think is helpful. It's something that I personally do. It's also something that has some psychological evidence backing its use. Nowadays, we have studies on meditation. It's not as if we know everything there is to know about meditation, but we know a lot now. Actually, for instance, did you know that the different forms of meditation, like mantra meditation, non thought meditation, like mindfulness, visual meditation, these all use different parts of the brain? These all involve different neurological processes. That's a pretty interesting finding that people are just now starting to understand and, study scientifically. But yeah, so meditation is really cool. There are studies showing that a regular practice of 15 to 30 minutes a day, a few times a week for a few months, can lead to tangible reductions in anxiety, a greater working memory capacity, that's your attention span. So I definitely recommend meditation. I think it's pretty good. Broadly speaking, meditation is the act of focusing on a certain action or thought to the exclusion of all other thoughts. In doing this, by blocking out other thoughts, we enter this state of non thought that provokes this meditative state that's very calming. It's very different from being focused or from not thinking about anything. It's very distinctive. Once you reach it, you'll get it. It's very focused and it's very not focused. It's very calming and relaxing. But so what separates mantra meditation from other forms of meditation, you're probably wondering? Well, it's this mantra. So then that brings up another question. What exactly constitutes a mantra? So actually, this whole idea of a mantra is pretty broad. The examples I'm going to give in this video are definitely not the be-all, end-all. There are things that you could do that would qualify as mantra meditation that do not fit within the boundaries of what I talk about in this particular video movie thingy. So a couple of different forms of mantras that are pretty popular would be a sigil mantra. That would be like a symbol you make. And the symbol may or may not have some sort of meaning. You could imbue this symbol with whatever meaning you want. Like, for instance, if you're a writer and you're trying to write a novel, you could imbue this symbol with the association of today I will write something in my novel and, I'll eventually finish it. It becomes associated with all of these interconnected ideas of writing the novel, finishing the novel, being inspired, getting over writer's block, being motivated. All of this very complicated action of writing a coherent novel and all of the complicated ideas and actions gets associated to this symbol. And then when you meditate on this symbol, you can do one of two things. You can write the symbol in your head, or you can draw and redraw it for a certain period of time. Or you could draw it and just look at it and reflect on it for a certain period of time. Another popular form of mantra meditation is a verbal type of meditation. So that would mean you would pick a phrase or a word, or you could even invent a phrase or a word, and then you repeat that either inside your head or outside of your head to the exclusion of all other thoughts. So some people will like pay other people to get like a power phrase or whatever. I do not recommend that. You can do this all for free. Do not let someone have that power over you. You should definitely invent your own. So there are two very different types of mantra meditation that you can do. So you can take your mantra, it can be your visual mantra or your verbal mantra. I should go I should go back a second there to the visual, the sigil. Making a sigil is really easy. I just realized it might not be immediately obvious how to make a sigil. So you could like pick a symbol like a cross or a circle or something from like a beloved game or something and use that, and then just kind of think what kind of intention you want to associate with the symbol. If you want to associate anything with it, you might not want to associate like an intention. I'll talk more about that later. But so the act of associating an intention with your sigil is sort of like as you write it and draw it, you just kind of think, you reflect on like, I want to be a more productive writer, or maybe I want to be friendlier, or maybe I want to have more positive thoughts, that sort of thing. So you just reflect on that as you invent this symbol. But a really easy way to make symbols is to just kind of write a phrase. Like, for instance, if you wanted to write a symbol to inspire you to write more, you could write out the word writer, then take all of the different letters that go into the word writer, and then kind of mash them around and then like kind of pretty them up, like make them more circular or heart shaped or something. And then you can make like your own little pretty avant garde symbol. That's your little sigil. That's a pretty fun way to do it. In terms of making up a verbal phrase, you could take something from a beloved show that has some kind of symbolic meaning to you, or you could invent a phrase. Could be in English or whatever language that you speak. Or you could just invent something. Just take a couple vowels, a couple consonants, like ori, foray, Eris Lusantic, Soros, I don't know. You can just make something up. It's really within your power, and I think that in and of itself is pretty liberating. Okay, so moving on to actually putting this all together. There are two main forms of mantra meditation, and they both are very useful, even if they're distinctly different, in my opinion. There's mantra meditation where you have some sort of intention or purpose that you associate with your mantra. And then there's mantra meditation where it's just a mantra. You don't really think anything extra. The point of the meditation on that mantra is to enter a state of non-thought, is not to think on some type of character flaw that you want to fix or some type of goal that you want to work towards or some type of action you want to motivate yourself to do, which are all very fair things to associate with a mantra. So if you do a type of intention-oriented mantra where you associate your symbol or your phrase with something, that can help, inspire you to change or to do that action. Psychologically speaking, for instance, going back to the writer example, when we don't take an action towards something, that builds up this kind of psychological inertia. The act of writing a novel is a very daunting task. It's something that takes months to do, and you have to put hours and hours of work into it. It's not something that comes naturally for anybody, really. So what you have to do is day by day, you put a little bit of effort to it. Maybe the first day you would put 1 hour of effort into writing a novel, or you might write 1 page of a novel. 1 hour wow, 1 hour would actually be pretty good. But, you might put 10 minutes into the novel, or, you might write 1 page per day. So as you do each action, each bit of effort that you expend towards this novel builds this kind of psychological inertia. It becomes a habit. It becomes something that gets easier to do the more you repeat it. So, it might be difficult for you to write a page a day at first, but, after a year, you might be writing 10 pages a day easily. So when you do an intention-oriented mantra, so for instance, writing, and you reflect on this characteristic of being a writer, well, that's almost like you've written a page, so to speak. You've taken some effort towards this goal, and that kind of keeps your mind centered on this character trait or this certain behavior, and that helps you avoid straying. It keeps that psychological inertia going in the direction that you've chosen. But so with a mantra that has no meaning, this is actually very useful as well, because this will help quiet your thoughts. So if you're just saying the word ori, 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 over and over again, inside or outside of your head, eventually after a couple of minutes, you'll enter this state of non-thought. It'll block out negative thoughts. It'll block out thoughts that are distracting you. It'll allow you to get some peace of mind. So that's also a very meaningful thing to do. You don't necessarily need an intention of any kind. So that brings us to how exactly do you meditate? It's very simple. Some people meditate for longer or shorter periods of time. I mean, a monk might meditate all day, for hours and hours. Somebody on a tight schedule or who is just starting out might only meditate for 5 hours a day, a couple times a week, or a couple times a month. Personally, I recommend meditating for 15 to 30 minutes a day, a couple times a week, if not every day. I really think it's a good thing to fit into your day, and it becomes a chronic trait. So, mantra meditation. How exactly does this all work? So you get your mantra, and essentially what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set aside 15 to 30 minutes or whatever, interval of time you've chosen. Go to a quiet place. Some people like to say their mantra out loud or draw their sigil. Some people reflect on the sigil. Other people draw and redraw the sigil over and over again. You could draw the sigil inside your head, outside of your head. You can repeat your phrase inside your head, outside of your head. Doing things outside of your head is more attention grabbing than doing it inside of your head, so it's actually easier. But really, what's that phrase? The world is your oyster. I don't really like oysters, so I don't really like that phrase. But you get the general idea. It's all within your power, and that's the liberating thing about things like meditation. So, what you're going to want to do is what you essentially do is you focus on this phrase, this sigil, this mantra, and every time you have an errant thought, and we all have those thoughts, that kind of ticker running in the background of things that are important, like, all kinds of things. What should I do this week? What do I have to do to prepare to film this video? What is associated with the color red? Apples. What's associated with apples? The Apple Festival. We have all of those thoughts going on in the back of our mind constantly. And in spite of our best intention, it's very easy to get distracted because of that, because we are always thinking. So when you engage in mantra meditation, you repeat this mantra, and every time you get distracted, you go back to the mantra. You drop the thought and just go back to the mantra. And there's nothing wrong with having your thoughts, distract you. That's very normal. The longer you do this, the longer you'll stay in a state of non-thought, this meditative state. And the easier it will become to enter it, and the longer you'll be able to hold it. But it's not abnormal to lose it and then gain it and then lose that state over and over again in even one session, even for someone who's experienced. But it gets easier with time. So anytime your thoughts stray, you go back to the mantra. And it's very easy to do that sort of thing where you are mindlessly repeating something or doing some task while thinking about something else. So it's very easy while you're repeating your mantra to start thinking something else in the background while you're mindlessly repeating it. Well, you should look out for that, and every time you notice yourself splitting your attention like that, drop the thoughts and go back to the mantra. And if you hold this for half an hour or so, you'll definitely enter this very calming state of non-thought. It's really nice. And it will help you identify, how to explain it. There's this sort of thing, past versus present, or it's not even really that. It's more like internal versus external. It's so easy to get caught up in our anxieties and all kinds of pressures, time pressure. I got to do this, I got to do that. That reminds me of that bad experience. That reminds me of that good experience. This helps us really maintain this sense of balance. This sense of almost the sense of self that's kind of independent of the past. This is this very transcendental idea that I've kind of noticed lately, but engaging in meditation kind of separates you from that internal dialogue, and a lot of that is based on past experiences, many of which could be negative or even misleadingly positive. And this allows you to kind of live disconnected from all of those preconceived notions. So you're kind of just this blank slate, but you're very much yourself too. There's something very fundamental and very interesting about that. But this will really help you identify emotions better, identify where things are coming from, why you feel that way. In many ways, it almost demystifies a lot of thinking when you engage in a regular meditative practice, especially if you pair it with other forms of meditation like open monitoring, which I'll do a video on at some point in the future. But so that's pretty much everything. I hope this has helped. I hope that this was sufficient. This was adequate in instructing you in how to do mantra meditation. If you'd like more information, you can pick up my book, The Path, Psychomancy by Astora Diam. I threw the link to it in the description for this video. But really, this video should be all you need. You really shouldn't need the book. But if you'd like some more information, there's always that. But yeah, this is Infinity, wishing you the best of years.